Hello friends, Doug Fink, Microsoft MVP for the last 15 years, and I've been playing with OpenAI and PowerShell, and I wanted to take you through a few things, show you how the new AI assistant stuff works, how you can use it from the command line, which I think is fascinating. So if you like what you see, hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, and let's get going. Okay, so what I have here is I'm going to walk through a new module I'm building out that integrates with the new OpenAI AI assistant messages and whatnot. Prior to this, in the PowerShell AI module that I do have, the way we worked with that until about 2 weeks ago was if you had a chat conversation where you did message in, message out, you as a developer would need to keep all of the messages in an array and keep track of them, and then pass that back and forth every time you had a prompt that you wanted to give the model. So they've upgraded that, made it a bunch of pieces much easier, but they also provided a whole bunch of new behaviors. So let's take a look at that. So first up, just want to let's just see if you need a key. So if you want to get a key, that's the URL. You can create a new key. I've had one out there. I'm not going to show you mine. You create it, you copy it, and then you paste it in here in $env : OpenAI key. Paste that in there, and then the module will use that and work. If you want to put it in a vault, if you want to make a secret out of it, go ahead. The PowerShell OpenAI piece that I wrote has that built in. This one will have it built in, but not yet. So once you do that, I'm going to import the module. So let's import it, okay? And the first thing I'm going to use is a new function called new OAI assistant. So OAI is OpenAI. So I'm going to do a new assistant. I'm going to bring the heat. This is the new model, 1106 preview for GPT-4. And I'm going to set it with an instruction. You are an expert in geography. So this is going to be my geography tutor. And I'm going to run this. It runs. We don't see anything. That's great. But we can actually print it out. And that's what we got back from OpenAI Assistant. Okay, it gives us an ID, a bunch of other pieces. You can see our instructions are set there. That's a simple instruction I gave. You can go paragraphs to describe things. And what's cool about this, or one of the new features, let's take a look at their website, is I can take a look at the assistant I just created. And that's what I built. I didn't name it, but I gave it the instructions. I can see the date and time it got created. I can delete it. I can test it in the playground. So if I click test in playground, I can now use those instructions, do some messages, turn pieces on and off. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to do it all through the command line. And what I'm going to do is now we've created an assistant, and the key thing here is the assistant ID. The other thing, again, I'll repeat or note, is that this all happens on the server. So this is a pay-as-you-go model. So every time I hit it for prompts for setting these things up, I get charged less than pennies on the dollar, depending on the amount of information I sent. So in other words, if this instruction is, the longer the instruction, the more I pay. And then of course the responses that I pull back. So the next thing that's a little different is we're going to create a thread. And I have something called a new OpenAI thread, OAI thread. Let's run that, and we'll take a look what's in there. Nothing major. So everything's done on a thread inside of the assistant. So threads can be, you pass with the assistant, and you do things with messages, and you do with things with runs. So here I can see that the thread, let's take it up here. Okay, has an ID, tells what kind of an object it is. I'm all interacting with everything on the server for OpenAI. So all this is being stored on the server. The cool part is that this can be done. These pieces can be set as I go, and then I can be offline. Don't have to be connected to the server for this stuff to actually run. It'll actually run in the cloud. So I'm going to now take the thread ID. I'm going to take the thread ID, and I will create a new message. New OAI message. I'm going to pass it the thread ID, and there's a bunch of, the only role that it supports currently is the user role. And as a user, I'm going to pass in the content. You can think of this as a prompt, and I'm going to say, what is the capital of France? So let's run this, and that's the message. So it got created up on the server, and this message is now associated with that thread I created. And you can see here, if we cracked open the new message, we can look at content, and I know it's an array, so let's get that correct. Let's try it again, and let's pass it to FL, and we can see that there's my question and has a bunch of annotations. There's nothing in it, it's just an empty object, but you can see that annotations can come back as an array of objects. So I've created an assistant, I created a thread, I created a message on a thread. So now how do I do something where I can get this to actually do some work? Well, that's where runs come in. So line 18, I'm going to do a new OAI run. I'm going to pass it a thread. That's the thread I just created, and the assistant I created, right? What's really cool is that multiple different assistants can work on the same thread. So I can pass in this assistant that I created. I can create another assistant that uses the same information. Maybe that instead of just a geography of asking the question of what's the capital of France, I can ask population questions. I can ask mean incomes, things like that, and to let the model, the GPT-4 model, work on it. So I'm just going to tie in the thread ID and the assistant ID, just one assistant. Let's run that up. Okay. And it looks like it worked, and I will type in $run, and this is what we get back. Okay, so we can see that our assistant ID, right? We can see our thread ID, and now we have a run ID, and it pulls information in from the assistant, like the instructions. And notice here our status is queued. That means it's been queued, it's ready to go. I can log off, come back to this, log back on, and I can check out statuses, figure out what's going on. So now that I've let this sit and cook, let's see what the run is now. Well, let's take it one other step. Let's talk about again. We've talked about you can work offline, right? So you can send these things up. You don't have to sit here and monitor it. This is all just setting up these things to run in the OpenAI servers. This run is how everything is packaged up with all of the work. It knows how to load the model, all the messages in the thread. And here's some new key parts, like it knows how to truncate the messages to the model context. So you might have heard that there's a context limit of like 4K, 8K, 16, 32, and recently announced 128K. So the challenge is if you're keeping all these messages, and so this model's you're interacting with it in a chat session, the more information you send up, the more that you get back, it eats away at your context, and then you have to do things to truncate it. Now, anytime that you do a run, the OpenAI servers will take a look at all this stuff, says, okay, you're almost at the limit, or you are at the limit, and we're going to truncate it for you so that it still knows what it's doing, and it has a memory and a context, so we don't have to worry about that as developers. In addition, it then calls the model, and then it saves all these results back to the message on the thread on the server. So let's take a look, let's go fetch the messages. So now, line 35, I'm going to do a get OAI message, pass it the thread ID. Let's do that, okay? And then let's take a look at the $messages. And this is what a message object looks like, okay? I'm going to drill down into the data. You get things like first ID, last ID. That helps you figure out what's going on. If there's more than, there could be hundreds of messages in here that you need to look through programmatically. But let's take a look at line 36. run that, and I'm going to take that data property and I'm going to convert it to JSON so it's easier to see. And you can notice down here, this one message is it's a user message. That's what we did. We asked the question, the value of what is the capital of France, and then as I scroll up, I can see the assistant responded, which is the model responding, that the capital of France is in Paris. So again, all of this is done all on the server. I just created an assistant, a thread, a message, and then I asked it to run everything. Nothing happened on my machine. Everything happened up in the cloud. And of course, OpenAI protects your data. It does not use any of this data to do any of its training. And they're completely tied in with Microsoft, and Microsoft's Azure is offering these as services, which gives you enterprise level protection. So this is kind of the direction everything's going. So we set up the instructions and said, hey, you're going to be our expert in geography. You're going to be helpful and concise. We asked the question, we set everything up, and in less than 39 lines of code, we actually worked and talked to the model, which is pretty cool. So that's just a basic run through. I'm going to show one more thing here. Not only can you figure out things about the run, but you can also get what steps did it take. Now in this case, this had only one step, but we can actually take the thread ID and the run ID and we can get the steps back. If I was doing this with a bigger workflow, I would have multiple pieces of data in here, but here we just see that the message got created and it gives us all kinds of information about the times that it ran, if it when it expired, failed, so on. So this is a nice little job control of what's going on the server. So if you spun up 50 different runs across multiple assistants on multiple threads with all kinds of questions that you're asking or interactions, you can actually sit back and look at and figure out what's going on with your stuff. Now, last but not least, let's make this a little bit more fun and a little more involved. And I'm going to open up something I built called an Excel assistant. Now this is a little bit more involved. What I want to draw your attention to is I'm going to set up a model as we did before, but now I'm also going to add a tool to it called a code interpreter. So what that does, it indicates to the run and OpenAI on the server that I want to have a Python interpreter spun up, which gets spun up in a sandbox. And it figures out, based on your instructions and based on your content in your prompt, if it should use it. So what I'm going to name it. I'm going to call it Excel stuff because that's how creative I get. And for the instructions, you are an expert in Excel. Please create an Excel file with the answers. So I set all that up, right? We saw how the new assistant worked. We create a thread. And here's my prompt. I need to mock sales data for 5 years. Start in 2013, output year, total sale. Make it so. Okay, and I'm going to do a new message. I'm going to take that prompt, wire it up to the thread ID we created, and then I'm going to take the thread ID and the assistant, and I'm going to run it like we did before. So the extra special sauce here is I'm going to now grab the run, I'm going to look at the data and the status, and if it's not equal to completed, I'm going to go keep looking at, I'm going to poll and call get OAI run with the thread ID, and I'm going to keep waiting until that status turns to completed. And I'll just put a little message saying waiting for the run to complete. And then when I'm done, I'm going to say run completed. Then I'm going to grab the message from the thread ID, grab any annotations, and we'll go into that a little bit. Because in the annotations, if this does the correct thing, it's going to actually create a file, an Excel file. So I'm going to grab that Excel file. I know I have to split it, so I can just get the leaf name. And then I just want to get the extension, so I can actually just say, okay, if it's a XLSX, I'm going to grab the file ID from the annotations, and I'm going to set the content type, right, to open XML formats, Office document, do some things for creating a file name that I'm going to create locally, and then I have something called get OpenAI file, and I can pass in the file ID, the content type being it's an XL document, and output where I want to have it saved. And at the end, once it's pulled it down, I'm going to fire up, and hopefully all this works, and I will end up launching Excel. So let's run this. Okay, and over here on the right, something's cooking. So set up everything, set up the assistant, set up the prompt, set up the thread, and then it ran it. And now I'm in that loop where I'm polling to see whether or not the job runs. Okay, so that took about 15 seconds. You got back some information. It determined in the annotations that it could return an Excel file, grabbed that name, did the get OpenAI file from the server, pulled it out down in the correct format, and I saved it locally, and here we are. That's that interesting and that simple. I can spin up as many runs as I want, threads, so on and so forth. I paid for a bunch of pieces. I'm sure I didn't even pay 3 pennies for this. And yeah, all I did was ask it to be an Excel expert, give me a file, and my prompt was, I want to mock out sales data for 5 years. I've experimented with this and said, okay, give me the mock data and then do a sales forecast for me. And it does the same thing. So the really cool part is that this actually spun up a code interpreter, which was Python in a container, in a sandbox container, to actually execute that information and then generate that file. If it had come across any errors, it would have taken longer, and it would have tried to correct it. Programmatically, ultimately, if it didn't work out right, it would have failed. I can interrogate if it failed or not, and then I can get back to steps of what happened and figure out what happened, why it happened, where it happened, and either log that for an audit log or present it to a user and figure out what the next steps are, or use it as a debugging process. Really cool stuff, I think, and I hope you like this. Again, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. There'll be more videos coming. Take care.